I think D&D is the granddaddy of lore.
Well, yeah, like
I guess the Bible's the granddaddy of lore, but I mean fantasy lore.
Yeah, there's like tons of video games that have borrowed liberally from Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh, D&D or The Hobbit, which is first?
Well, Hobbit's first, yeah.
But stuff has been tripped from both of them.
Tolkien, established a lot. Like, he took a lot of things that were floating around and kind of made his own world. Solidified them, and then all fantasy took from Tolkien.
Yeah, directly out of his...
Wait, is Tolkien literally the father of fantasy?
No. Of modern fantasy, yeah.
I mean, he took a lot of stuff from folklore and
fairy tales,
stuff like that. Yeah, and fairy tales, but yeah, modern fantasy is Tolkien.
YUNKJunk!
Have you ever sat with your friends with a piece of paper and drawn some stuff on it and come up with some scenarios and characters and told a little story?
I haven't.
Then you might be familiar with D&D.
What?
Today we're talking about D&D.
I've never used pen and paper for that in my life.
Okay, Dungeon Master, what do you use instead?
A computer. There's plenty of websites for it and spreadsheets.
Yeah, we use pens and paper.
Sure. Like adults.
When did it start?
Like adults.
Oh, this is an old thing.
Oh yeah,
Dragons is a concept
76
more than it is a game,
or something,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's been getting more and more popular. It kind of like dipped a bit. I feel in the 90s. Like 90s didn't have much D&D lore happening.
Well, because there was a satanic panic in the 80s where everybody thought that they were teaching kids how to summon demons.
And then Satan was cool in the 90s, so it wasn't like you weren't a renegade if you played D&D.
Yeah, I won't rant about that, but I'm gonna leave that for
for later this episode, I hope.
Yeah, I'll just rant it right now.
Yeah, let's go at it.
Content.
The problem is with that whole thing, they were like, oh, there's names of the demons in the game have names. All those names came from like the Bible and the Torah and like other religious texts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They didn't make up a bunch of Satans and demons and stuff.
Well, I think that was the point. They're like, you're trying to summon actual demons. Beelzebub.
Yeah, Saint Beelzebub. He's not Beetlejuice. Saint Beelzebub does not make Beelzebub show up out of the ground. And the Demogorgon is not a real thing.
Just makes me think of Beelzebub from Tenacious D movie.
You see his name? You strike his quirt 3 times, he comes out the ground.
That's true.
That'd be fun. But yeah,
rant over.
Rant over. Good job. Good job.
Mini rant, not much of one.
Yeah, D&D, I feel, in the last 2 decades has really kind of been rising in prominence. There's the nerd culture has come in strong. And I feel like this is kind of the standard bearer of nerd culture. What do you think?
I think it wants to be. Especially because Hasbro bought the property like 10 years ago or so. And they keep trying to market it as the standard bearer of nerd culture. And I'm like, no, it's a type of system to play a game in, which is what it is at its core.
But I think we have to go back to our classic game of, is it nerdy or is it geeky?
I think
this group has identified that Star Trek is for nerds, Star Wars is for geeks. D&D feels like a hybrid of both.
Well, so it started for geeks because you had to sit there, like you said, draw maps on pieces of paper, and you're doing all this stuff with rulers, and you have like protractors and stuff trying to be like, oh, I need to make an accurate castle. You just want to have fun. You don't need to do any of that. You can imagine it in your mind.
Yeah.
It's a theater of the mind type thing, if you want it to be. But when it started, it was all the people with pocket protectors were like, oh, I can use these tools in my pocket protector.
This is what they're for.
Yeah.
This whole time.
To live this life of grandeur.
Would be handy.
Yeah. But now you have people that wear actual armor and forge swords themselves, also playing D&D. So it's not just for the geek. It's for the nerd. If you,
who's more likely to win? Can you win?
Yeah, it's anything. It's a system to play a game, so it's whatever you want it to be.
So here's a question: have you ever played D&D?
Yes, and this is going to sound really funny. So I played it once.
Did you win?
No.
You didn't play it right then.
We didn't play it right. We didn't play it right because we didn't have enough people. But what we did is in the 90s, they, I guess, released Dungeons and Dragons like as if it was a board game that you would go and pick up. In that was a VHS tape. It was the how to play Dungeons and Dragons VHS.
You need that, actually.
So I watched that. So that I know how to play.
That sounds awesome.
And it was really cool. But at the same time, God, I hope this thing exists.
These are just how to play VHS tapes and what are VHS.
So
I
basically,
feel so old now.
It was a bunch of very 90s people. So we're talking like, you know, mullets and stuff, like talking about how to play. And they're like, well, you'll come across different scenarios. And, you know, the guy with the mullet's like, well, I'm going to be the knight and I'm going to stab him with my sword. And then like,
radical.
Exactly. Like it's like that. It's an amazing VHS tape if you can find it, but it came packaged with the game. So I learned how to play everything, and it did a really good job of setting it up because, you know, they would suddenly, you know, transport into this magical world of what was in the theater of the mind, to your earlier point. So we tried to play it. I would say I always wanted to play it, but it never really took off in my area. There was not a place where I could play it, where it's like now I know there's, you know, it's weird. It's like you said, it kind of died in the 90s, which is when it would have taken hold of me.
Yeah.
And I never encountered it in college, even though I would have played. And it wasn't until recently that nerd culture, you know, stores like shops like yourselves and also like, you know, comic book shops would start hosting events or things like that.
Or like trading card shops. Or
because
something
that
like
didn't hit until after I was kind of out of the zone. So yes, I'm familiar with how to play. If we can find that videotape, amazing.
See, what's interesting is I think...
And I was interested to play. I was prevented from playing by lack of other people.
Yeah, and you need people. I mean, that's kind of the long and short of it. It's hard...
Depends how limited your imagination.
Well, right. You can have an amazing mind theater, but I think most people are taught this. They play with a friend who already knows it. Yeah. Right?
It's passed down through this secret alleys and dark alleys of nerd lordom.
Like, more so than the books, I feel it's important to have somebody who is an oral tradition passing it down to you. Like, this is what you do when you're playing. This is how I'm going to be.
Like, didn't your cousin have a friend that was really into D&D? Because I think that's the first person I ran into that was like, oh, yeah. I play Dungeons and Dragons.
He played Dungeons and Dragons with a couple of his friends, and like, I sat in on a couple sessions and had a lot of fun. But they were playing in a way that was much less based in the numbers, and it was mostly just like collaborative storytelling.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite part of it, honestly. Like, you just go through and in character you make stuff up.
Well, that's interesting because that's my favorite thing too.
Yeah.
Is the idea that it was collaborative storytelling. And my hero, I think I've said it on this, my absolute hero is Trey Parker from South Park. He is an avid D&D guy, and he credits D&D to learning how to properly tell stories, and still does Dungeons and Dragons to this day. And one of the people he plays with all the time is Elon Musk, apparently. Who, it's a really funny way that they were talking of. Trey likes to be the dungeon master because he's a storyteller and loves that stuff. And he was like, all right, I'm going to do a bunch of stuff on my end. Everybody, you just had like a group text with all of these like billionaires and whatnot. Like, everybody just text me what you want. Send it to Elon Musk, and it just comes back like 2 minutes late. Like, no. Like 20 seconds later, it just says paladin. And that's it. Like, he knows what he is. He's a paladin, and that's it.
I think he thinks he's a paladin.
Yeah. But yes, that is what also attracted me because I'm a lore guy.
Yeah.
I think I like lore more than anything.
Well, yeah, and like I am too. And like, so like when I started playing it, started playing with a mutual friend of me and Chris's a couple years ago, and I'm still in a campaign with him. I read the game tonight, actually.
Yeah, you guys have been campaigning for years now.
7 years, I think we just passed.
7 years playing, together.
Yeah, like online, we use an online resource. But yeah, this is like our 5th campaign. And one of the big draws of it is that we are doing a lot of like the classics, like the reissues of classic stories. So the lore goes back decades for some of these stories. Like the Curse of Strahd is about, you get transported to like Transylvania, basically. And a vampire lord is like, hey, come beat me if you can. But you can't because you suck. And then you're trying to get strong enough to beat him, but it's very hard because you walk into a house and the kid kills you. It's like, oh, I was a ghost all along. You're dead. Campaign's over. But like knowing the lore behind it would teach you like, oh, you don't walk into this house at night because at night, that's when werewolves come out. So werewolves live on this side of town. Like,
where did this lore come from? Is it from this person's group?
From the designers of they're called modules. So the modules are like the seeds of a story.
And there are official ones that D&D created, Wizards of the Coast back in the day.
Yeah, now I guess still Wizards with under Hasbro. And then people made their own, fans made their own. Some of the fans were published in like omnibuses. Some of those fans now run D&D.
Yeah, I would love to like make my own module one day because I was like, oh, well, running other games is fun, but like making your own world and making your own story, that sounds really fun.
So how do you get into it?
You either find some like Chris saying, you find somebody who knows how to play it that brings you in. You watch the videotape and have other people to play with. I feel really bad that you didn't have anybody to play with.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I can't imagine.
Because it was like me and my one nerdy imagination friend.
Yeah,
he wasn't imaginary. He had just play pretend.
Strong, yeah, you know. Like that would have made for an amazing play session if you guys had actually gotten to play it. Yeah.
You know, a group of 3 would have been enough, and a DM.
Yeah, and then nowadays there's lots of live play, YouTube streams, like Twitch streams, where people sit down and play a campaign, some of them of their own design, and they just play through it, and they have people, pick a character, play multiple sessions where you're role playing this character, and you go through the story.
To bring it into this world of like this podcast, can you play it online? Like, is it a video game yet?
Well, there's dozens of video games that are based on in the Dungeons & Dragons world, like their fantasy world, but also based on like the rules of the Dungeons & Dragons. You might have heard like Baldur's Gate. There's a whole series of those games. That was one of the first like computer RPGs where you have like a party and you click in these little boxes and tell them to shoot people.
And Baldur's Gate 3, which came out last year, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. It's wildly popular. Like everyone bought that game out of nowhere, and I have yet to delve the time into it, but it's D&D in video game form. Only you don't have to use your imagination.
Yeah, because it's a video game. Yeah, designers and artists have done that work for you, and you just gotta pick a character and inhabit it, or not. You can make choices that ruin your party's experience. Like at the beginning of this game, there's a guy whose hand sticks out of a portal, and it's like you can pull his hand out, but if you play an evil character, instead of pulling the hand out, you'll fantasize about biting his hand off, and then wake up and you've actually bitten his hand off because it wasn't fantasy, and you never get that guy's dead. Or you pull him out and he's one of your party members for the rest of the game.
But there's not a digital version of this game?
So yes and no. Yes and right. Yeah. Like there's like Neverwinter Nights was a thing similar to Baldur's Gate.
Yeah,
they like use the rules as a framework and sometimes even the lore, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, and then you can host a game online. You can put maps online. You can do everything but have it like. But you still have to do stuff manually. Somebody has to design it and put it together. But there's websites like Roll20 that have it streamlined. That's what we play on every week. So we have a map with icons on it. We can move the icons around, but we still have to figure out what is going to happen.
I feel like
the Dungeon Master determines what happens when you make a choice.
All right, we got it here. Number one choice for D&D online. So this just helps you play the game?
Yeah, it helps you play. Because really, all you need to play the game is imaginations and
a friend, ideally.
Yeah, ideally dice to help, because the rules, the structure of the game are, you roll dice, you get random results. Everything's like percentage based, so that's where the geekery comes in. You have a 20%.
Well, that's where the nerdery comes in.
That's where nerdery comes in. Like you have a 5% chance to miss your foe completely, or you have a 5% chance to obliterate them completely, or you have 90. Not 90%.
And one of my favorite things is when Steve is DMing, like it'll be like,
18 out of 20. Chance
it'll be like something like, this big random. Oafy guy, he wants to jump into the second floor, but he doesn't have very, very good dex stats. So like, yeah, we'll see. You can't do that. Roll your D20, and he rolls a perfect 20. And then you have to make a story reason why this Oafy guy was managed to do a backflip up to the second floor. It's like, okay, that's awesome.
Or if you're evil, you come up with a story reason why they tried to and it still fails.
So the Dungeon Master is the storyteller.
Yeah.
But essentially, the players are choose your own adventure.
Yeah. It's basically a bunch of people playing choose your own adventure games alongside each other.
Yeah.
So I would think it's more fun to be the DM. What does it take to be a DM?
You have to know, like, you should know the lore. You normally need a guidebook, handbook. The handbook will give you all the stats you need for monsters. It'll tell you like where the towns are in relation to each other, how much things cost in the shop. So if the players ask you like, I want to buy iron sword. You look up how much iron sword costs. You tell them, it costs 2 gold pieces.
Can you lie?
As the Dungeon Master, yeah, if you want.
You're
in control of it.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I would say the 2 most important things for a DM are 1, imagination, and 2, cross-referencing. I think those 2 things, like, it's the intersection of those things.
Like the better DMs, which I'm not one of, they know this stuff in and out. So they don't have to consult a guide. They just know it through.
So a player would get upset at a Dungeon Master if they're clearly just doing whatever they want and not using something from the lore.
Yeah.
Like I can't say you go to buy the sword and it turns into a floppy fish in your hands and now you have nothing.
Well, yeah. So like, a bad DM would just be like, I want you to have a good sword. So it turns into a fish, you have nothing. A good DM, if they don't want the character to have that sword, would say, oh, you buy the sword, it turns into a floppy fish. But then what do you do? What happens when it turns into a fish? And give it to the player agency to do something. Or not do something.
So they could say, I buy another sword. And then
or they can back slap the shopkeeper with the sword, with the fish.
Or
and the shopkeeper's like you could create some serious arguments.
Yes. So that's another thing. That's why the dungeon master has to control it, ideally.
Well, and then you can have unruly players who don't want to follow the rules. Yeah. Steve is one of these unruly players, by the way.
Only sometimes.
Unruly Steve.
So Steve is always telling me stories about his campaign and how he will try to thwart the DM and vice versa. But he'll be like, oh, I was researching this combo of spells, and I have a spell that can make a 2x2 meter cube of water anywhere. And then I have another spell that can freeze water instantly. So I can just make a giant block of water and freeze it, and it falls, and it kills anything it lands on. And Steve's like, well, I figured that out. And then the DM's like, well, that breaks everything. And Steve's like, well...
I'm like, so?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's called rules lawyering.
Yeah.
When you take the rules and you find loopholes and you find interactions, you're like, oh, it doesn't say I can't freeze the water I make. It doesn't say the water I make stays there. So therefore, if you freeze it, it'll fall because it's heavier than water because it's now ice.
Suddenly, Steve's character is transported to the end of Mass Effect 3. And now what, Steve?
That's the check and balance.
Yeah.
Like one time we were in a crowded mansion and people were like trying to fight my party because we were
real life mansion.
No. I wish in World Mansion, and like we were falsely accused of poisoning somebody. So my character is like the healer and he's trying to get everybody to shut up. So he casts a thunder spell that's loud. It doesn't say it destroys anything. It says it's loud. And the DM is like, oh, I don't like you doing that. So I'm going to have it go off. Everybody hears you. And then it makes the mansion fall down. Because it was so loud, it shook the foundations apart and the mansion fell on everybody and killed them. And then my character was a murderer that owed the owner of the mansion 5,000 gold because he destroyed his mansion.
Yeah.
But yeah, nobody cared about the murder. They cared about the property damage.
Which is a fun part of the storytelling, right? They cared about the mansion. The people inside,
People want you can always have more people. It just takes some time.
Now you are an avid board game player. Is that where you started to like Dungeons and Dragons? Which one comes first?
I really, I played board games with friends and family a lot. My wife is real into them.
Okay.
And she's into them more than me. Yeah, board games. I kind of got
more than everybody.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. She's like an uber board game person.
She loves learning rules, I think, is why she likes this.
Whereas for me, like learning rules is like, that's the tedious part you get through to get to the fun part.
Yeah.
But some people are like, oh, more rules. I want to learn a new game. And there's just different types of people, right?
Yeah, sure.
But when it comes to D&D, I like the collaborative storytelling, being with your friends part of it. Everyone's hanging out and there's this common goal.
So board games didn't infer your love of Dungeons and Dragons?
No, not really. They're kind of unrelated in my except we're all sitting down to play them. The setting's similar, but it's a different mode. Because when I'm playing a board game, it's usually I'm trying to min-max and figure out like the math and probability of how to win this game. D&D, I'm like, hey, we're hanging out. We're telling a story.
Well, I'm the opposite with board games and D&D.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah. But
so you go into StarCraft mode when you're playing a board game.
Yeah.
Well, I try, and
I've seen it in his eyes. He's just like,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So you see the gears rolling. Yeah. And yeah, like I got into D&D from just playing D&D video games. Like Baldur's Gate 1, our mutual friend Jim got me into just because I like RPGs. I was like, oh, I have a computer that can run this, so I would like to play it. And the story was really engrossing. So that was got me to the world.
Long time ago, right? Baldur's
it was like 98, 97.
It starts with a Nietzsche quote.
It was around the time of like Myst and games like that, right?
Yeah.
Does start with an
it's like a turn-based RPG, also strategy.
Oh,
90s CGI, let's go.
Oh, looks so good. Oh, hi, Mark. Hey, it looks kind of like
that looks so bad.
What?
This is real bad. This is from the remake, I think. Is it? No, this is from the original.
This is probably original.
This is from the original.
Wow.
Is
that Baldur?
My name is Baldur. I just broke my gate.
No, that's Saravok. He's one of Baldur's kids. Baldur's the god of... No, Baldur's Gate is the name of the town. He's the son of Baal, who's a god of murder. and basically you're like, oh, the god of murder killed somebody, but he's not here. Who actually did it? And
But
you're
let me
trying to figure it out.
let me try and clear this up for people watching.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate is based on the lore of D&D, so is it like
It's in the world.
licensed?
Yeah. Baldur's Gate is a town in the world of D&D. So this game takes place
So
in that
D&D
town.
owns Baldur's Gate? Does Hasbro own Baldur's Gate?
They own the IP. So currently Hasbro owns it.
The developer basically gets the rights for the D&D
Yeah, to get licensed.
world. They
Yeah, just like any other licensed game,
Yeah.
like a Star Wars licensed
You may
game.
have Chapter
LucasArts
3.
licensed it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Adidas.
But like with, and I hate to bring this up because it sucks, but Ring of Power, like they gave them some of the stuff that was not in the Silmarillion to make a show out of.
Like, here, you have some of the
And they
scraps.
did
Yeah,
of
some of the
literally.
scraps, yeah. But like, so like Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro will give out certain pieces of the lore to as licenses, but they're all interconnected. It's all the same world, and they often feed that stuff back into the God books.
Is there one of my
Handbooks.
favorite things about video games, especially Super Nintendo games, like Mega Man X2, for example, is that there is some sort of god armor, god weapon type thing. Does that exist in the world of D&D where
Well-
there are like these ultimate killer weapons?
Well, yeah, like there's all sorts of like blessed or like God created or God worn even like pieces of gear that you can find and collect. Either they've died or they're tossed it aside or they like grant it to their biggest like booster. Like paladins often get a weapon from their patron god that's like, oh, you're so good at upholding my virtues, you get this giant sword that does so much damage and looks cool and has fire on it.
Mm-hmm.
But then also as a DM, you can always make your own items for the players to find. Or you can do like my DM does and nerf all that stuff, and you only find pieces of crap everywhere.
yeah.
So you don't look anywhere for stuff.
This is why Steve
Yeah.
goes to rules lawyering.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's like
you're
Dark
not-
Souls.
Yeah, if you're not going to give me cool stuff, I'm going to make up reasons that I can do cool things
Yeah.
because I don't get cool stuff to do it with.
And it really, the DM changes everything. So some DMs will be like, okay, you're in a room with 20 goblins. You kill 19 of them. Oh, the last one had a lucky hit on you. Roll again for, he slipped on a banana peel. And like, there'll be Deus Ex Machina
Yeah.
a bunch.
Like, me and Chris are DMing a session for his daughter and her friends.
Yeah.
A weekly session.
7th graders.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of that because they all wanted to play it. They were being introduced to it. So I don't go too hard on them. I don't let them get away with stuff, but I
Yeah.
don't want to kill any of the characters. So every time like the monster rolls like a death blow, I'm like, roll this roll to see if you happen to get lucky and survive it. Or maybe you turn around the last second and it glances, just chops your ear off or something like.
Yeah.
So when was the first time you guys heard about D&D?
Some movie in the 80s, I'm sure. I don't remember which movie.
Yeah, it
was.
must have been.
But it was a thing. Maybe even a vacation movie, National Lampoon Vacation movie. I think Rusty was in the Dungeons and Dragons.
I think
in the
I
first
heard
vacation
more
movie.
about the Satanic Panic. I learned about D&D through the Satanic Panic stuff. Like
your parents like, don't play D&D.
well, it's not from my parents, but like from
okay.
80s movies would be like, it's gonna kill you, like that stuff. Like just knowing the cultural osmosis, it was like, oh, D&D is something people play. It's dangerous. It's not dangerous.
What is this? Tom Hanks D&D warning?
Yeah, one of his first movies. It was a D&D panic, like Satanic Panic movie that he
What?
starred in.
Mazes and Monsters.
Yeah,
What?
it was like, what if playing this game made these monsters come out in real life and start killing people?
I am the maze controller.
Awesome.
Wow.
Oh.
Oh, he's wearing a safari hat.
Oh God, the lighting. Jeez.
Yeah, that's very bad lighting. And that's what Tom Hanks used to look like, huh?
Is this the videotape that I what? No.
Actually, no. I think even before the movie Vacation, I'm thinking of the Dungeons and Dragons animated series from the 80s. Have you ever heard of that one, Terry?
yes, I have the cartoon.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think that actually might be the first place I've heard of it. It was an amazing. It'll almost certainly come right up. An
Rise
amazing.
of the Honk.
Yeah, it was. The series was
Cartoon
real bad.
intro. Hit me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna grab another one of these. Keep going.
but yeah, like this anime series is based off of like the first edition, I think. So you had like 5 classes, and they all had set abilities that didn't change at all. I know they had a paladin, a rogue, a wizard,
So it looks
fighter.
like the whole premise of the show is that they go on a roller coaster themed to Dungeons and Dragons and then get sucked into the world.
Yeah, and then it's an isekai for you younger
Oh.
viewers.
Sorry, what? Isekai?
Isekai is a genre of anime where somebody gets sent to a different world and has to live there forever.
I
It's
hate
based on
isekais.
Alice in Wonderland, but yeah, I hate those. I hate most of the animes
I
on
hate
that
that
premise.
every movie about something is like, well, let's take kids from the real world and have them interact.
It's like,
no,
why bother?
Yeah.
I hate the real world.
Yeah, unless it's part
I'm
of the
trying to
plot, don't
escape.
do it. So like part of this show, like it was part of the plot.
Battletoads was the same thing.
Well, yeah. But like they're modern kids, well, modern for 80s kids with modern sensibilities, and then they have all this medieval fantasy stuff going on, and they're always flabbergasted by how silly some of this stuff is, or scared by how real some of these dangers are when they were playing a game before that was like, oh, a goblin attacks you, it's nothing. And then in that world, a goblin like can eat you for lunch.
I believe a lot of the exposure for the current generation is through Stranger Things.
Yes, absolutely.
Stranger Things has done huge things for D&D.
Does the current generation watch Stranger Things?
Yes.
Our generation watch Stranger Things.
I know for a fact that 7th graders right now do watch it.
Okay.
Not my kid, but friends of hers. Yeah. Not that we wouldn't.
Well, this is definitely where the vernacular hit the mainstream for sure. Like understanding what a dungeon master was, understanding that it's something that a group of kids do, that it can get heated, that there's storytelling elements, and that, of course, there are monsters that are in the Stranger Things universe that are named after D&D people, like the Demigorgon.
Yeah.
Is it bothering you?
actually,
That's a take. Yeah. No. Nothing you say that's wrong, except I
But-
feel like that was just the first 2 episodes of Stranger Things.
Yeah, but
And after that, it became
a
more.
lot.
Well, yeah, but also like it did a lot to not assuage that satanic panic, like inkling that people still had from the 80s. They're like, oh, but look at this show that's actually happening. It's like, well, it's not actually happening,
Well, it wasn't
but it's
Satan.
close enough.
Yet.
It's not Satan. It's a Satan-like thing that looks enough like Satan that they can call it Satan.
It's
Or-
just a mere nether world filled with nightmare horror.
Yeah.
you know, better or worse than hell. Who knows? But yeah, I do credit the show with at least making it more popular with like the mainstream, but also I don't think it teaches anybody about Dungeons and Dragons.
No.
I think it.
Like,
I think
I-
it adequately exposes them.
Well, yeah, exposed, but then like I don't think it attempts to teach anybody either,
No.
or expose them for that matter. It used the writers use it as a hook
plot
for
device.
a story. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a very good hook for that story.
Yeah.
They could have very easily had like an X-Files style, just like, oh yeah, people are investigating these kids missing, and they end up in the under, But he went with Dungeons and Dragons to give an end, but with a knowing reference to that satanic panic.
You know what? I
Phenomenon.
think most people know D&D from references to D&D, not actually D&D.
I feel like too many people know it from The Big Bang Theory, which is sad and soul crushing to
See,
me.
I've never seen The Big Bang Theory. And
This show sucks, but it's half of it is Star Trek references, and half of it is D&D references, and I don't want anybody to have learned of either of those things from that show.
But now you know that so many people have, possibly more than the original source.
yeah, and it crushes my soul
That
every
is
time I think
upsetting.
about
But
it.
it's also, well, actually, that's much better. Futurama, that is a show that probably paid better homage to D&D than
I'm trying
yeah.
to remember what
Big Bang
there's a whole
Theory.
big-
different
Bender's Game.
concepts. Yeah, that was a movie though. That was like after the
Yeah.
run of the show. Community has a episode where they're
Oh,
actually playing
yeah.
D&D, and it's part of the focal point of the episode.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit better.
Yeah, the Community one, what was
Yeah.
that with Fat Neil?
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the episode, is he didn't like being called Fat Neil. Right?
Well,
I didn't see that.
Somebody's a Community guy.
I mean,
I think Dylan's a Community
I mean,
guy.
I am like
Hey,
that's-
yeah, he's saying yeah.
like that's part of it. But yeah, also like Neil didn't know how to interact with these other people in the study group, and he's like, well, this is one way to do it. Here's something I enjoy that we can share. And if I remember correctly, he was also like bad DMing a bit because they were being unruly players. So
Well-
he kind of had the worst of both worlds coming in there.
But they also kind of explain the idea of probability and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of each one, Abed would say, hey, when you roll the dice, you are creating one of 20 unique different scenarios that
Outcomes,
could
yeah.
happen. Yeah.
There have been D&D games that weren't D&D though.
Okay.
D&D themed games.
Cool.
Mhm.
And we've played a couple of them at Tubby. One Dungeons and Dragons is called Shadows over Mystara, Mystara.
Yeah,
Shadows over
it's
Mystara
Capcom
is
beat
all.
'em up. I think this was a sequel actually to an earlier one.
No,
Shadows over. Mystara.
And
There
yeah,
we
it's the
go.
first
That's
thing
that first one.
on the list.
Uh,
So, no,
On this search.
yeah. No, what the heck?
Wow.
I think it's it's not Mystara like Laura, it's Mystara like
Yeah,
Mara. Hey,
There we go.
oh, cool. It's a Capcom
It's
game?
a Capcom
Google was so
side-scrolling
finicky.
beat 'em up.
Amanda did not understand this is what you're searching for. I hate Google.
Yeah, it should have known this right away.
What else does somebody mean if they misspell Mistart?
First of all, Capcom, so it's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at this, it's incredible.
It's
It's a D&D themed beat 'em up game.
yeah, it's very simple, but you make it as complicated as you want. Could you have buttons to hold down to navigate menus?
Oh, no.
And items and everything. Yeah, you have dragons, you have dungeons.
Look how awesome. Already, this is the best game in the
Honestly,
arcade.
seeing insert coin, that gets me where I live, man.
And so you see like this, like in this game,
Oh, it
you
looks
and you got
great.
armor and weapon upgrades. Like you see this golden armor the fighter has is the upgrade. He starts with this, silver.
Oh.
So what's cool about this, I never saw this in the wild,
Me
really.
neither.
Like, a lot of people didn't know it existed. I only knew about it through emulation.
So they had it at Spaceport because I would play it. Like when I went there by myself on the weekends, I would play it all the
missed out
time.
playing
Where
at
is
Spaceport.
Spaceport?
It was at 16, between 15th and 16th on Chestnut.
Let's
downtown.
do a field podcast
Well,
there sometime.
I wish it
Chris
still
was- yeah,
was there.
Chris
No,
was
no,
walk-
just in like the hull of it.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think it's a sneaker shop now. Chris was saying
Perfect.
last time we went down there.
Hey, we need to borrow your sneaker shop.
We're bringing this game in.
I don't know. It's one of those sneaker shops that has the sneakers and saran wraps. I don't think they want anybody filming in. Those almost, I feel like those are
Or
fronts.
they only want people filming in there.
I feel like those are always fronts though for something.
I'm going in with a bunch of quarters and going to demand to see the arcade.
But so this game is really cool. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's
a beat 'em
beautiful.
up, but it has attack, jump, item.
Yeah, there's
And
player. I think if we had the big
The
cabinet.
fourth button is for menuing, so you actually go through menus and you can do
Oh, is that in the
all
bottom
that
left?
stuff- yeah, all
Yeah.
that stuff down there. You can use items.
Oh, is that
You
a
can
dwarf?
use spells. Yes, and yeah, that's the menu item that just came up. So you can actually like
Dude,
do
I
things.
live for this stuff.
you would love this.
If I remember back then, dwarf was a class.
yeah,
Like it wasn't a race of character. It was like your class is dwarf.
yeah, okay.
Dwarf has a
He
sword and
looks very
shield.
tall.
He's as tall as the humans though.
Want to use the bottle, and of course, still the fairy's like,
Oh,
"Go
Navi.
on, you
Get out
got
of here, Navi.
you got quarters. Your quarters gonna run out."
Hey.
Get over there, Link.
But so it's you can play like a beat 'em up, but it's got all of these items to play with.
Interesting.
It's weirdly deep.
Yeah, one of the games, either this one or the
Oh,
sequel,
this is gorgeous.
has like a password system, so you can like save your progress.
I'm sorry. I'm totally cutting off what you're saying with
No,
my
no,
random
of course.
effects.
I'm glad you're enjoying it because this game is
no,
awesome.
because like I haven't seen like lightning effects and stuff like this in forever.
It looks
Yeah,
great.
this is definitely the sequel then, because the first one
Yeah.
wasn't this.
Shadow of Mistard is the second one.
Find a beholder. It's
I think you fight a beholder
it's
like
an
right
eyeball
away.
monster with eyeballs coming out of it.
What's
It's
a
chopping the
behol-
eyeballs
so a
off.
beholder is from the lore. Like
Yes.
you are aware of this. Like you could see that in a handbook.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's depicted like that.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, an eyeball creature
Pretty
has
much
eyeballs
like that.
on stalks, and it turns you into stone. Can turn you into stone if it stares at you.
And one of the coolest things about D&D, in the books at least, there's the creature books, which is
The monster manual.
the monster manual. And
And this is my question: is were there illustrations of all of this
Yes.
Yeah.
before, like licensed illustrations?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Jesus.
So Wizards of the Coast owns. They created Dungeons and Dragons. They have a. Chris will correct me.
Say it again.
They have a
Wizards of
Wizards
the
of the Coast. Yeah, it's,
Okay.
it's owned by Hasbro now. They have a copyright or a trademark. I don't remember which one. No, copyright on the
Beholder.
language in the manual. They don't have copyright on anything else based on it. So you
So,
can make stories
gelatinous
based
cube.
on their rules, but you can't quote their rules without paying
But you
them
could also
money.
draw your own rendition of it without infringing. It's just
Yeah.
that they own the description
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, they own the description in the book. Like this was a legal description
Very
distinction that
interesting.
came out like last year because they were trying to charge everybody that uses Dungeons and Dragons for their YouTube content money for using it.
Mhm.
And they were like, but you can't license something that is Creative Commons.
This seems like it would be a
And it was Creative Commons
blast of a
license.
YouTube hole.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
Like, lore.
there's lots of like
I'm
very
such a lore junkie.
yeah, there's lots of direct Dungeons and Dragons lore channels. There's one guy I can't remember his name, but he just has like this big bushy beard. And he's like this big, like buff dude with a big bushy beard. Just doesn't look like he would be in a D&D. And he just knows all about the lore. And he does
is it
lore
the
explainers.
Tyrone, the same guy that does the movie things?
It might be, I think so.
Yeah.
And then there's
Look up Tyrone movie reviews.
Let's Plays, like the one
Tyrone Magnus, that's who it is.
the one most famous one is
Not Clone
no.
Tyrone.
Is it that guy?
no, it's
No,
not.
no, it's not that guy?
No.
Oh, that guy's cool.
I got to check him out.
I like him a lot.
And then there's live plays where people are actually playing the game as characters, and there's one called Critical Role, which is the most famous one.
Why aren't we doing that, Dylan? We could set up a camera over top here and host a D&D.
Make it happen.
Well, part of Critical Role is they got a lot of professional voice actors, and the professional voice actors run the game and participate in the game. So if we find some professional voice actors, we can get us.
You're talking to one, bro. I'm the voice of a bunch of companies that happen to work with me because we don't have other voiceover.
Do you have a SAG card?
No.
You gotta get union.
I don't want it. I want to work.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I think we're coming to the idea that this is something that's like cross-pollinated all types of media. Yeah. But the original source is only like one of those like sources.
Can we look up? What'd you say? It's a black guy with a beard talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
White guy with a beard.
White guy with a beard talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
I don't think that's going to narrow it down on the internet.
Let's find out.
White guy with a beard talking about Dungeons and Dragons on the internet. Is that really it's okay?
That's what we're going with. Is that him?
Nope. You start scrolling. I'll let you know when he comes up.
That's fine.
Nope.
No, that's Weird Arby's
Weird
guy.
Arby's guy.
And so what? Can you search? Can you add to the search term minus neckbeard?
Minus neckbeard. I don't
see if that's going to narrow it down any.
Now you're just going to bring up neckbeard.
Threatens a literal child.
Oh, sorry. No, I mean minus sign neckbeard. Like one word, minus sign and neckbeard after it. Yeah. So that'll exclude it from the search. Nope. It just added more. Okay.
I love Fedora guy.
They don't use Boolean search anymore because they're like, people are too stupid. I know Google's terrible.
Well, they thought it was bullying, so they got rid of it.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
But sorry, so this brings me to another tabletop game that has gotten a lot more popular recently because of a video game. I've never played it. Warhammer. Are you familiar with
Absolutely.
Warhammer? I don't know much about it other than Space Marines.
Well, so the funny thing is both of them come out of the tradition of wargaming.
Yeah.
Which was like, having tabletop and a bunch of middle-aged men would sit around pushing tanks around and be like, how can we win World War II better? And then Warhammer was, what if we do this with fantasy stuff and fantasy Marines and orcs? And Dungeons and Dragons was, what if we did this but without the table?
Yeah.
You draw your own table on a map, and that way you don't need a table and the miniatures you have to buy.
Let me see if I can do this.
But Warhammer was like, let's take the miniatures and double down on it.
Yes.
Dylan, can you look up Ben Affleck movie Paycheck where he removes the monitor? So say remove monitor Paycheck Ben Affleck. I think this is a good illustration. So the idea of he's a reverse engineer, and so his thing is like, give him any product, he'll reverse engineer it, figure out how it works,
and start the copyright.
You got to put Ben Affleck in there. And so the idea of like doing something. There it is.
I sold my shares.
No, it's where he figures out
mental extraction. I gotta see this movie. I didn't think it was something like this.
Like put up reverse engineering.
I always confuse Paycheck with another movie. I think has Ben Affleck in it, where he hits a guy with a car, and then the guy comes after him, and the guy that he hits, I think, is Sam Jackson.
Oh yeah, that's Changing Lanes.
Okay, change. I always got that confused with Paycheck in my head, and I'm like, wait, what is this?
There it is.
Okay.
There it is. This lady.
Laboratory. The lady.
Yeah.
Opening credits scene.
Advancement of 3D technology.
Yeah, so he can learn anything. And then he can unlearn it, and then he can rebuild it. And so there's this cool thing, like the newest technology monitor. Of like, well, no, her head's sticking out of the monitor.
Whoa.
And so he's like, I'm going to reverse engineer this. And so I think in the next scene where he does
hologram, though,
he gets rid of the monitor so that it's just a hologram. Similar to how D&D removed the board.
Yeah.
The board game. Long way to go. But the point is, here we go. He's about to unveil it.
Oh, God, this movie seems so dumb already.
Wait, so
you have to watch this movie.
He has like a superpower to reverse engineer things?
Except you're supposed to believe anyone can just do this if they're smart enough and Ben Affleck enough.
Okay.
So he's going into this pitch meeting.
See, I'm just imagining he's got the Sharingan like Sasuke, and he's just like, any move I see, I can do.
I mean, maybe he does.
I wonder if this. I hope it doesn't turn.
Oh, that's the woman from Cold Case. one of the few procedural shows set in Philly. That's one of the reasons I know the show.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so he's reverse engineering it. And
this
then
is
go
how
forward.
That's how you build monitors. You take chips and mash them together.
Are you saying this is technically accurate?
I can't tell if he's being serious or not.
Can you do that?
Okay.
No.
We gotta get images of just Chris doing this kind of stuff.
So he's just a human FPGA chip.
It looks like Minority Report, but for nerds.
Came out right after Minority Report,
Oh, okay.
funnily enough.
Well, see, I
explains
appreciate
a
that
lot.
he has a stylus because fingers are
I
nonsense.
like how he reverse engineers the holographic lady
Yes.
and then takes the monitor out.
All right, go forward a little bit to when he's back in the boardroom. Here we go.
He's like,
This is a lot of setup, but this is gonna be a great short.
Is he gonna
This is gonna be a great short.
what's cooler than $1 million?
So he says, "Yeah, the monitor was cool, and I couldn't figure out what to remove from it."
He's gonna pull the monitor down. And
You darn right, he's gonna pull the monitor down because he's Ben Affleck. goddammit! Bam!
Oh!
That's D&D. Paycheck is D&D.
That's the
remove
first
the
time that
board.
take has ever been made. I wonder.
Whoa!
You can't Google it to find out anymore because Google sucks.
Whoa, she's like a real person, but not.
This is gonna change everything.
I like his
He's
smug
so
smile.
smug. He was like,
I figured this out in one evening.
I'm surprised he didn't like raise his glasses.
Wait, so what is the
But
dramatic?
literally, he did. Like, he's tired because he was up all night.
Wait, so what are the dramatic stakes of this movie then? Somebody want him to reverse engineer like a bomb
I don't. Maybe. I can't
for a
remember.
paycheck?
But
Dun, dun,
hey,
dun.
look at him. He's so happy.
Wow.
Anyway, so that's what I thought of when you said that.
They took away the table, bro.
Yeah, so Warhammer would be like that, but instead of taking away the monitor, you add more monitors and you make the monitors bloody and giant armor and live for thousands of years.
But also, I will say Warhammer definitely has its own audience. Like, I definitely have a buddy who, when I say, what's the nerd thing you're into, he would say Warhammer. Like, read all the books, know all the lore,
Yeah.
has the figurines, paint the
Well,
figurines.
you talking about Warhammer or Warhammer 40K?
40K.
Because that's the futuristic one, and Warhammer's the like
Both of them
Stone Age
have-
one. That's like that Warcraft is based on directly.
Thank
It's
you
a
for-
direct rip of Warhammer.
Thank you for clarifying because I did not know that.
And this just, StarCraft is basically Warhammer 40K.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's literally. They also have a Zerg in there.
Yep. People are just
Yeah.
like, oh, Blizzard just stole Warhammer. Yeah.
Oh, now they make Warhammer games.
Yeah, well, when they made the
that funny
Space
was when it
Marine
just came out. Yeah.
game.
I still haven't gotten into the lore of Warhammer because it's so draconian and
But
convoluted.
that's actually like, and I thought that too. I was like, oh, it's so much to get into. But then I heard someone, I forget where I read it on the internet, but they were like, it's basically space Catholicism. Like,
Yeah.
what if you took the ritualistic stuff of Catholicism and multiplied it by 1,000 and then added Space Marines? And I was like, that sounds interesting.
There's only one guy that could solve that problem. Bible Man.
Captain Bible.
Captain Bible.
Damn
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, like
Edit that out.
Like they're like, I think they're priests that control fast and light travel. They like make wormholes with their faith, and the ship jumps to a different place because they just believe in the because the emperor's like a 1,000,000-year-old like skeleton in a robot suit that just kept alive by his like sheer willpower.
Yeah. and,
Well, you know what? To get this back to D&D though, I think D&D is the granddaddy of lore.
Well, yeah, like
I guess the Bible's the granddaddy of lore,
well,
but I mean,
yes,
fantasy lore.
yeah. There's like tons of video games that have borrowed liberally from Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh,
Like,
D&D
indirectly-
or The Hobbit, which is first.
Oh, but
well,
first is the Hobbits first.
Yeah.
but stuff has been stripped from both of them.
Tolkien,
Yeah.
established a lot. Like, he took a lot of things that were floating around and kind of made his own world.
Solidified them,
and then all fantasy took from Tolkien.
directly out of his
Wait, is Tolkien literally the father of fantasy? No,
of modern
fantasy.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he took a lot of stuff from folklore and
fairy tales
stuff like that. Yeah, and fairy tales, but modern fantasy is Tolkien.
He just wanted to invent like
Wow.
5 languages, and he came up with a lore reason to make 5 languages. Like that's why he wrote Lord of the Rings. He was a linguist, and he's like, I love languages. I want to make more languages.
The
Now,
Lord of the
I
Rings
might
was
as
an
well-
afterthought.
Yeah, I might as well make a story out of this and give
Yeah.
a reason why the elves have 8 languages because he wants to
Wow.
make 8 full languages, which he did.
And he's like, well, I guess I have to hang it on something.
This is like in the shadow of like World War II, isn't it? Like right
Yeah.
after or right before it? Yeah.
Well, I do know that there's a lot of celebrities who like D&D, and there's a lot of people that just love this thing. I guess Vin Diesel very famously is an avid D&D player.
Well, yeah, like famously as a young person, he was
Yeah.
into it. Like in the 80s when it wasn't cool.
You look up celebrity D&D.
I know what's his name? Joe Manganiello is into it.
Yeah.
He's not that big of a celebrity. He keeps trying to get a movie made that's lore accurate. But the latest Dungeons & Dragons movie was pretty lore accurate. He just wants a more gritty one to be made so he can be in it.
Yeah, that's right. The new Dungeons & Dragons movie came out and everyone loved it. I have yet to see that one.
Yeah,
it's great.
I wanted to get
really,
there.
It's a really fun adventure movie. If you know anything about Dungeons & Dragons, it's a fun adventure movie.
Joe Manganiello.
That's who we were talking about.
What's he famous about?
He was on True Blood.
Yeah, and Magic Mike.
Okay. Oh yeah, he was in it.
And he was
he was married to what's her face from Modern Family. Yeah.
Okay.
And he was whatchamacallit?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, he was Deathstroke in in the Snyderverse.
Yeah, in the after credits only. I wish they would, whatever they do, they need to keep him as Deathstroke. He's perfect for it.
I don't know what that was.
What's that little video? What is that?
That looks like
I don't know what game that
that's
is.
some kind of MOBA.
It does look kind of like a MOBA.
But he's been trying. Him and Will Wheaton have been going around trying to get people to play D&D more in Hollywood
for their whole lives.
Yeah. Like this guy, he's always been into it since a kid too.
From WWE,
yeah, from wrestling.
Yeah, I think wrestlers are allowed to be like D&D nerds now.
It goes hand in hand.
You tell that guy he can't do anything.
Well, not only that, it's thinking up ideas, using your imagination to make a story, to keep the story, or your character coherent. Like just Tom Morello, right? Yeah, like they all have a game where they play together like weekly, or did play together weekly. I don't know. All my info about this was before COVID.
Tell me about. Oh, that's a good point. COVID probably had a massive effect on the D&D world.
It made Hasbro try to squeeze it for all the money it's worth because they saw more people playing it during lockdown. And when lockdown lifted, they were like, people aren't playing D&D anymore. We need to monetize it more. And then people threatened to leave in droves.
In the D&D world, there's all kinds of controversy now because of Hasbro, and Hasbro's killing the spirit of the game, and they're trying to squeeze too much money out, and they're killing the fans.
Yeah, like it's always been
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Weiss and Benioff, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't think Benioff was a nerd, but Weiss was. I think that was the breakdown of them.
Well, Benioff wrote Wolverine Origins.
Yeah, so he definitely wasn't a nerd. Oh God, that was yeah. So so like traditionally to play D&D, somebody buys a Dungeons Master Guide. It's like maybe $40 now. Back in the day, it was like 15, 20, maybe.
Yeah.
So the DM buys a monster manual, maybe, because the DM guide has a bunch of monsters in it. Players might buy a player's manual, or they might just photocopy it and give it out to each other. So you could spend $50 and have 5 people play D&D for years. Now, traditionally, it's been a low bar of entry.
Because that says 40-year-long Dungeons and Dragons game. Is that legit? Like people play for long? I don't mean 40 years. That's probably insane.
I mean, it could be like most people play like once a week or once a month or something. Like they're not playing daily the D&D games with each other.
No, I understand, but like, it can keep going.
Well, so there's like 20 character levels now, I think, it's 20 character levels now. It used to be like 40 levels. But even then, you wouldn't play for 40 years unless you're either making new characters or like the character having kids, or you're just like, oh, we're super powered and overpowering everything. And the DM's like, okay, I'll make it harder. You're fighting 5 dragons at a time now instead of 1 dragon. Because 1 dragon, you'll kick his ass. Now you're fighting 5. Make it harder.
What do you want people to know about D&D?
That it's accessible, it's fun, and you just have to imagine stuff. Like I keep trying to get my girlfriend to play because she would make a great rogue, but she doesn't like rules. And I'm like, you don't have to worry about rules. Let the DM worry about the rules. Just say what you want to do, and we'll let you know if you can do it or not.
May I? What is a rogue? I immediately went to X-Men.
Like a thief. So like a thief class in like a Final Fantasy game.
Oh, okay.
They stealth around. They get bonuses for backstabs. They are good. But also in D&D, they're also very charismatic. So they're good at deception. They're good at lying. They're good at gaining people's trust.
Got it.
A Han Solo type, but in medieval times.
Yeah. Instead of a blaster, you got a dagger.
Why do you say that? What is Hen Solo?
It's a chicken store coming to Main Street.
It's a cease and desist letter waiting to be mailed. Is what I keep thinking.
It's parody.
From Lucasfilm?
It is parody. Dumb Starbucks.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a great thing to say. That it's accessible and like try it sometime.
Yeah. We could try it right now in 3 minutes, and that will give you an idea of what D&D is.
Do it.
Well, first let's hear what it is to Chris,
Oh, yeah,
maybe, because
please.
he might have an opinion.
There's still a lot I'm learning about it, and I actually don't have a ton of exposure. Like I've played, in a number of games, but to me, like it's a fun way to hang out with your friends, and really works across wherever you are, whoever you are, and whenever. It's just like, all right, we can make this happen. You don't need stuff.
Yeah, like the group I play with, been playing for 7 years. I have met one, hang out with him in person a bunch of times. I've met another one once, randomly. The other 3 I've never met before. We've spent 7 years
he's been playing a game with
having
these people.
a bi-weekly game, and we chat, we catch up on each other's lives. I've never met them before, but they're all mutual friends of the GM.
I'm going to have this be part of the gym that I open up. I want to open up a gym that's just for nerdy people. And it'd just be, 4 treadmills facing each other with a board.
Don't have to be facing each other.
You could keep walking and exercising while doing D&D.
No, you would do 4 treadmills facing one direction, 1 facing the other direction.
Okay.
DM's on the 1 facing the other direction, and you have them walking towards the DM.
Well, perfect. It'll be a friggin' cycling class on the time
The
D&D's not there.
DM one also has to be elevated a bit because they have to be able to lord it over the players and crush them every time they.
They need a button that pushes them up higher and higher depending on how they're
Every time they level up, it
You
moves up a
leveled
little
up.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, to
I
close
will
out.
be asking you and you for investment on this, by the way.
I mean, you can ask me. I don't have any money, but yeah. So
Sweat equity.
we can to close out the episode with a little imagined scene.
Let's go.
No, yeah.
Chris, do you want to set the stage?
Sure. All right, so we're in a sewer, deep below the bowels of a small town, but enough to have a real sewer, which is, pretty cool in the era. We're talking about a medieval area.
Yeah. So that's high.
We're in a medieval sewer.
We're in a
Yeah,
medieval
that's like
sewer.
a Roman. That's like a Roman exurb
Yeah.
or something like that. They have a sewer. Yeah.
There you go.
So we're walking in shit. No.
With trudging.
Trying not so there is a trail of excrement coming down the center, but the sides are clear. So you can walk.
How many people can fit on each side, each walk?
So on each side, half a person. You have to straddle.
So in D&D terms, if you have to straddle and there's 4 people, say, walking down the alleyway, you can fit half person on each. Somebody's going to fall off. So you'd roll a dexterity roll with the D20 to see.
Can we get there's probably a
Virtual
quick dice,
die?
virtual
Yeah.
dice. Wait, this is funny. So our new guys that have been helping out, Kev is doing some punching right now. Randomly, we heard this noise when we were kind of interviewing them up.
Mhm.
And we looked down, and it's a 20-sided die that apparently one of our new guys just always has on him
Okay.
in case he needs to challenge someone real quick.
In case you need a 5%
Sandy check.
chance to,
Well,
determine.
so
later.
either that's really awesome or terrifying.
Yeah.
Okay, so I rolled 11 dexterity. If I'm playing, say, a dwarf, I'm a rock dwarf. I mine for rocks all day, all night.
Okay.
I'm like a classic Tolkien dwarf.
Okay.
I'm not with an 11. That's like barely above average. I'm not keeping my footing on a 6-inch wide ledge. I'm falling to the shit.
Okay.
So I just fell into the shit.
What
Does that
do you
mean
do?
I fall into the shit?
Well,
Well,
no,
so
you're
then, yeah.
behind Steve.
What type of character are you? You for simplicity's sake, we can say you're yourself.
Okay.
You're a human. You're 6 foot something. You're in good shape. You have
Human
average dexterity for a human.
Entrepreneur class.
So if you roll, if you roll higher than a 14, you're probably good.
Just to stay on?
Yeah.
But I want to help you back on the ledge.
Well, first you gotta see if you stay on. And you rolled a 14, so it ties.
Oh,
You
okay.
barely stay on the ledge.
You're like shimmying around,
Whoa.
but you stay up.
Okay, so I'm up.
So
Yeah.
if you wanted to try to help me up,
I want to try and help you
you
up.
would, you would do a strength check,
Okay.
and you would probably get if you beat like a 10 on strength, you're probably
so
able to
who's
help me up.
defining that?
That's the DM.
That's what the DM would
Okay, so
define.
the DM
yeah,
decides.
that or the rules already tell you, like, oh, a dwarf weighs this much, a human can lift this much.
Oh, cool.
You know, how likely it is for a human, like a human can never lift a mountain, no
Right.
matter how well they roll.
But I could lift a dwarf.
Yeah, you could lift a small dragon if you roll very well, and the dragon was malnourished.
So you're gonna roll.
All right, I want to try and help him
yeah,
back
roll.
up.
So we're looking for 10 or better.
So the 16.
Oh, right.
So you help me up. You pull me up out the shit. I'm still covered in shit.
What do you say to your partner who just helped you out?
I say, shit smelled better than you. Just left me down there. Thanks.
Suddenly, down the end of the tunnel, you hear a skittering.
Oh,
You're not sure what it is, but you think it came from the tunnel on the left. What do you do?
I immediately brandish a weapon. I have a
Okay.
sword.
Okay, you pull your sword out.
You pull out your entrepreneur sword. Yeah. Okay.
It's a dollar sign.
No.
Do one of those parts just extends out longer.
No, I pull out a smaller knife because I don't want to lose my balance
Oh.
Nice.
while I'm working down.
Good thinking. Because what a crafty DM would do is, as soon as you pull out your big honking greatsword, dexterity check, see if you fall off.
Yep.
Because now you're moving around, you're holding this thing, it's changing your weight. So yeah, you pull out the small knife.
But did I just once I say it out loud into the ether, is that it? Like if I misspoke.
Depending on how strict the DM is.
Okay.
Like I would never make somebody be beholden to the first thing out their mouth if they immediately like, wait, no, I meant. Blah,
You
blah,
said a fife, so you're pulling out a fife,
Yeah.
buddy.
blah. My friend I've been playing with for 7 years. If you say something, 9 times out of 10, he will make you stick to it, even if it's a clear misspeak.
Okay.
One time somebody was speaking is like their kid. And he was like, oh, no, you said you're doing it. He said, no, I was talking to my kid. He's like, no, you said it. So that's what your character does. And now everybody, all the NBC you, could you just like slam the door? And it's like,
So as Steve is wiping off the manure,
well, no, I'm a rock dwarf. I'm keeping it on because help me hide me from whatever I heard. I'm not getting rid of this. They might think I'm shit.
Terry's brandishing his knife.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling down into your corridor comes a huge ball of rats. Tons and tons of normal-sized rats, about 100, tied together at the tail in the center. It is a legitimate rat king.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling your way.
And then what you could do is do the characters know what a rat king is. You can either have your character be like, oh, I work in sewers, I know what, or cities, I know what a rat king is. I might not have heard of one because I'm a rock dwarf. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I could roll a knowledge check to see if maybe I've heard of something that looks like that. Or the GM could say, you have no way of knowing it's a rat king.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is the Rat King so big that there's no way around it, a la Indiana Jones style?
Yes,
boulder?
Indiana Jones style boulder. We're talking about we got maybe 6 inches of clearance around it. Like this ball has been growing with rat until it could no longer as it scrapes along.
So if one were to jump in the excrement,
Yeah.
there's the 2 sides.
Mm-hmm.
Would that elevate the Rat King enough that I could that it could pass over me?
That's an excellent question. Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm diving in the shit
All right.
to
Now,
avoid the Rat King.
I would do a constitution check to see if you vomit.
Oh God!
Because you're face down, covered in literal shit.
Yes, again.
And in this case, I would, we're going to say, all right, I was going to say 15.
Yeah, rolling pretty good. So you pass, you don't throw it, but it kind of catches in your mouth. You're like,
Okay.
you choke it back down. You don't get any shit swallowing, you're good. You're healthy for now.
But I made my choice. What has happened to the rat ball?
So the rat ball's coming, rolling towards you guys. Steve's in front.
Yeah.
It's coming at Steve.
Steve's pulling out his
You're
warhammer.
behind Steve, and you're covered.
Yeah. You jumped into the shit. Steve pulled out his
Face
warhammer.
down and shit.
I'll protect you.
You don't have to. It's gonna roll over me.
Whatever this thing is, it can't stand up to my warhammer. And then I would take a swing and say that it's a big rat king, so it's easy to hit. But in D&D, to assuage that, you have armor class, which is just basically how
hard it is to hit.
Yeah, how big of a percentage window do you have to hit?
Yeah, but couldn't I yell up? But Steve, if you hit that thing, it's a rat king. It might just separate into millions of rats.
You would have to be able to say that while you're face down and shit. No, you might be a character that has the ability to
Talk out of my neck.
Like talk with your mind. They might have telepathy, and you could do that. You probably don't because you're human. So you might not care that I get hit with a bunch of rats when I hit the rat.
What? No, I do, because I tried to help you up. I did help you up because I'm master of the die.
Yeah.
And so you're a good line character. You like to help the people that you're venturing with. I'm a neutral line character. I'm only out for myself. And so
what happens?
I swing at the Rat King, but Warhammer has like if I roll higher than a 16, I'll hit the Rat King.
So let's do a roll.
I rolled a 19, so I got a pretty good hit on. So I hit the Rat King, and then my weapon would do X amount of damage. I would roll for the damage. Chris would know how many hit points the Rat King has.
Okay.
And would let us know if it looks.
Is this where hit points came from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
HP came from D&D.
I don't know if it came from D&D first or war gaming in general, but yeah.
So he hits the Rat King, and it falls back a little bit. Lots of screaming and scattering. You see little bits of fur flying off to the edge. Maybe one rat pulls its tail off, falls into the crevice. But the ball does not relent. It continues moving towards Steve.
Okay.
What do you do?
I would want to turn around and run away, but I have to roll a dexterity check because I'm on a small ledge.
Yeah.
And covered in shit. So I would have disadvantage because I'm not in an advantageous situation. So I'd have to roll twice and take the lowest number.
So we're looking for a 10? Okay, let's roll twice. First one. 3. Oh, he already failed. And 1.
So I super failed.
Oh, God.
So not only do I not turn around and run away, I slip and possibly land in the ball of rats.
Yeah. A living nightmare succumbs, Steve. And he's a dwarf, so he fits right in, and it's just arms and paws and claws scratching. He loses 4 HP from this attack. He's just trying to get out, frantic. His mind's just a waste. He's trying to get out. He bursts through the other side, covered in scratches, possibly bleeding. It
definitely has diphtheria.
Definitely, yeah, so it possibly has diphtheria.
Yeah.
But he's on the other side. Keeps on going, right past Steve. Goes over. Terry, you see it coming above you. You notice that there is a core in the center of Tails, and you're right underneath. What do you do?
I wave to Steve as he goes flying by.
Wait, you wave? The ball goes over, and it continues going down the hallway, screaming and bleeding and skittering all the way.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
So I realize I'm on my own. I raise myself out of the shit. I pull out a small piece of flint and a torch, and I light a torch within and start to travel.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it's a sewer, and you put out a flame. Depending on the sewer, it could be full of methane.
So I might just blow myself up.
It's up to the DM to decide if it was.
Well, we're gonna have to roll to see if your wet flint actually made a spark.
Okay.
Because of wet with shit.
It's very unlikely, yes. So we're gonna say 17 or above.
I was in my inside pocket.
17 or above, I'm still saying.
Hey!
Oh, it sparks.
On fire. Wait,
You
I might have
both-
just killed myself.
The tunnel explodes and a fiery ball of ash. You both are dealt 40 damage. You're dead.
Good game.
Good game. Good game, gentlemen.
What about the Rat King, though?
Cool.
The Rat King is shot out with the force of all of this air and shoots out of a manhole into the center of the Romanesque town. People scream, they run, they clutch their children. They talk about this for decades. This monster, they're dead. These are rats that have been hit with a concussive blast, but there's this just pile of rats tied together, bloody mat in the middle, and people are like, where did it come from? Where did it go? Cotton Eye Joe.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So yeah, we just
I
pulled
want
that.
to play.
Yeah,
I want to play.
Fun. You just
You
pull
sold
it.
me. I'm in. I was already in because of the lore. God, I'm going to have to do so much lore homework tonight.
Start small. You just pick out something like, oh, that sounds interesting, and then check it out.
My favorite piece of D&D lore is that there's pantheons of gods, and there's the D&D original gods and stuff. They all have like a purview. There's a bunch of them that are named after Egyptian gods. And it's like
Osiris.
Yeah, like there's Osiris, there's a Ra, there's a Horus. It turns out there's a bunch of wizards back in the day that summoned a bunch of people from a different plane. Those people were Egyptians. So some of the humans of the D&D world are Earth humans that were from Egypt, and they brought their gods with them. And because they believed in their gods, they became real. Because when you believe in it, it becomes real.
Well, in the lore of D&D,
in the lore of D&D, possibly. In the lore of Stargate, definitely. It's basically a Stargate situation. But yeah, so there's a bunch of humans that are descended from ancient Egyptians, and they believe in the Egyptian gods, which made them real in the D&D world. So before there wasn't a Ra there, and now there's a Ra.
They
and there's a
manifested
Horus,
their own
there's
gods
Osiris.
once they were in the D&D world.
And then they have counterparts that are like, I think there's a similar thing with the Norse gods too. But it's like Thor is like the god of like a lot of,
which means God of War is coming to D&D.
Well, yeah, like a D&D game with Kratos would be amazing.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they haven't done that yet.
Dual wield, of course.
Yeah. But yeah. So like that's my favorite piece of lore. But there's all sorts of little things like that you can find out. There was a whole magic civilization that lived in a floating city, and it crashed 100,000 years ago. And you can find bits of it all over the place. And you can find skeletons that come to life that were the people that lived there. But now they're just like skeleton zombies. But they're like a certain type of one that's impossible to kill. Because they don't have the technology anymore to kill them because it was lost 100,000 years ago. Like,
yeah,
unless you're that one guy that found that one amulet that controls all the skeleton zombies. So that would be a whole campaign. The town's
Go
being
get the
overrun.
amulet.
Yeah, somebody unearthed one of these towers, and a bunch of skeleton zombies came out, and the Lich comes out with them.
Mhm.
You have to find the Lich's phylactery, that's where their soul resides, and kill it to kill the Lich and stop the zombie. So you might have a time crunch. Like, oh, you got a month before the town is killed.
Oh, that's fun.
And then you're going on different adventures. The DM will set up different excursions to go like, oh, you heard the amulet might be here, and the amulet will help you get to the phylactery. Or you heard these people over here have info you need, but they're enemies of you. You have to convince them to work with you. It might, and the player should choose violence to like force them to, or they can choose diplomacy and try to convince them to their side, or a mix of both.
I like it.
And sometimes it falls to the roll of the die. You say, oh, I'm going to convince this orc. And he's like, really? You want to talk? It's like, yeah, let's talk. And then you roll badly and you insult his mom. And then you have to slaughter the rest of his tribe because he's not going to stop fighting you because his mom was a saint.
Yeah. So we'll do some more D&D stuff sometime.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
So before we sign off, I want to do something. I want to highlight another YouTube channel. I want to kind of do this regularly if we can. Do you guys have anyone that you want to highlight?
Not.
Okay, so I would think like for future shows, and we should do this across the board at YUNKJunk, is highlight other people. I discovered this guy. His name is the Black Mastodon. And he just recently put together the Mega Man X lore video.
Oh, nice. I gotta check that out.
It is awesome. Right there, the surprisingly tragic lore of Mega Man X explained. I watched
love
this
Mega Man X
entire
so much,
thing
man.
and I love this, but of course I got 3 minutes into this and where he references, oh, I actually have a video about Mega Man Classic and all that lore, so I had to stop and I watched all of that. Moral of the story is, I think I watched about 5 hours of this guy's stuff. And it's right in the pocket of like what we kind of do.
That's awesome.
Like I highly recommend it. He actually went to the Maverick Hunter Field Guide book to reference everything he's looking for. You can see it on the screen now. Yeah. But I love this kid. He's fantastic. Black Mastodon. He shows his face and also has like anime characters.
Like avatar of himself.
Exactly. Yeah. He let's see if we can see his face. Yeah, go into the Zero stuff. But the whole reason he did this video is because of the what am I fighting for?
I love that clip so much.
But just absolutely fantastic. So definitely check him out, and hopefully we can make a short out of this and at him. But I just discovered this guy, the Black Mastodon, and he is awesome, right up our alley as well. Fantastic.
I guess I do have a YouTube channel I could recommend then. The channel is called Tierzoo, Tierrzoo, and he's a creator that makes videos about like animals.
Our camel's OP.
But everything is video game themed, and like he's placed them on like it's not a real tier list. He's like, oh, camels are S tier because they can survive in certain climates or whatever.
Cool.
But like he uses lots of Smash Brothers and Pokemon and other video game side effects music. He loves the Gerudo Valley music, so that always pops up.
What the hell?
Yeah, and it's
Oregon called it Dula.
Everything's just like very creatively put together, edited. And yeah, the sound design, the graphic design that he adds to it's fun.
That is awesome. The enemy camel wants a snack. Fantastic. Well, thanks everybody for watching another episode of Tubby Talk. Welcome, Kevin, to the control room.
Welcome aboard.
Let's see what he does. He's one of the 2 algorithm twins that you'll see floating around YUNKJunk now. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tubby Talk.
See ya.
YUNKJunk!